call the special call finance meeting to order for April 21st. Let it be noted that all committee members are here. And the mayor is also here, and our city attorney is here, our finance director, and stupid thing keeps on popping up. And Alderman Roberson, Hayes, Director Gilly, and Chief Bush. Okay, the first item on the agenda is, well, actually, let's, oh, there's no meeting minutes. Okay. Let's accept the agenda as written. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Okay. Second. All in favor of accepting the agenda as is for a special called meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Daryl, could you hear us? Daryl.
Yeah, I was on mute again. Aye.
Can I make a point? I believe the way they've been doing votes is roll call. I believe that's the way.
Roll call, right.
Yes,
Okay. Do you want- Okay.
that's the roll call every vote. Yes.
Okay. All right. So roll call to accept the agenda as written. Alderman Waters,
Aye.
Alderman Woodcock.
Aye.
Okay, and me, aye. Okay, that passed unanimously. Okay, the first item, Mayor, did you want to say anything at the meeting?
That would just prolong the meeting, so let's just. Go ahead.
Okay, okay. That sounds like a good plan. Okay, the first item on the agenda is discussion of the governor's local government support grant. Does anybody want to open that discussion? Oh, Dave Lamar, okay, our city administrator is here, Dave Lamar. Did you want to open the discussion about the grant? Dave?
I can, Chairman. What we've done in the other three committee meetings is gone to the department heads and asked them to look at monies that they would like to request out of this money, out of this 1.3 million. The governor gave us 654,000 July 1 when the COVID hit. He doubled it and gave us another 654,000 in case we had expenses because of the COVID-19 related to expenditures in our budget. Each department is looking at items that they would like to have in their department based on stuff that items that they wouldn't ordinarily have. IT has got upgrades. There's capital maintenance. There's utility system, there's road projects, public safety, and so on. So each department is looking at getting a list together, and basically we as a team, the department heads and myself and the mayor are going to get together and bring to the board a list of items that each department would like to use as money for. One thing Alderman made a comment in the last meeting is that he would like to present this during the budget process, which I think is a great idea. The money is guaranteed. The state's going to give us 1.3 million, and we can't apply for it till April the 30th anyway. So we've got some time to talk about it, discuss it during the budget process, during the workshop. And when we apply for the money for the state, there's an application process that Robert can tell you about. We have to have a resolution from the alderman, and we have to have a list of items that we are going to use that 1.3 million for. So I guess, Robert, if you want to expand on that, you can.
Sure.
Robert?
I'll see if I can share my screen here without messing it up too bad. Should be able to. Let me see if does everyone see a screen right now? Let's see, share. If everyone sees,
we got it.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. This is the general outline of what we've received so far. We've gotten a little bit of, we've got the application actually came available today with some instructions that haven't had too much time to review. Thanks to the mayor for forwarding that. However, as our city administrator mentioned, some of the permitted spending categories, he kind of went over these groups right here. However, down here is where they go over some of the application process, which really talks about the funding will not be available until July 1st at the earliest. This is earmarked funds. The question was posed recently about if we don't apply early enough, will they run out of money? And that's not the case. It's not first come, first serve. We have been set aside 1.3 million in that regard. Next, the original application was to be made available on June 30th. That has come out today as well, just a little bit early. Thankful for that. However, we have must be submitted by April 30th of 2021. So we have a year to take care of this and get it all together. These applications do require the filled out application, which I have, a W-9 for our city, which I'll take care of, and then a resolution passed by the local governing body and our budget. Now, I think it would make sense that we either include one or both or the other. That budget could be, I haven't gotten clarification for that just yet. I do have the application instructions to go through, but we can do both, but our ordinance for our budget as well as the budget for the proposal and requested project that we are requesting money for. With that being said, we do have until June 30th of 2023 to expend all funds, which would mean that we definitely need to take into consideration the timeline of the project and making sure that it can be completed by within 3 years. It's a 3-year grant. So there's certain things to consider there. Also, obviously these are subject to audit because it automatically goes to $750,000 threshold. And other than that, the application process, really, we will start that as soon as a resolution has been passed. With that being said, within the instructions, I've noticed a few things, and some of that kind of goes into agreement and acknowledgement to present a resolution which will authorize outlining the budget, necessary account expenditures and everything. But really, we are detailing what we are planning to spend this money in the resolution as well, I believe. So other than that, it's really just up to department heads, the city administrator, and the board of mayor and aldermen to determine where best to use these funds within these 6 categories here. And I can unshare my screen and certainly forward this to anybody who does not have it already. But I will attempt.
I have that. I have it right here. But so in other words, it'll definitely be part of the budget then.
It absolutely can be. We certainly have a little more time than necessary, but the earliest part that just makes sense would be with our budget. Yes.
Agree. Any questions for Robert?
Well, I got one question. Dr. Robertson, would you ask that same question you did in the Public Works meeting about a free-for-all? I think that was a good question you had for us.
About the sequencing of us taking action.
Yes.
Well, no, about how we're going to allocate the money and you
Oh,
mentioned
yes.
a free-for-all, but that was a good point.
Yeah, I just asked, Madam Chairman, I just asked our administrator, how did he envision his role? Because if all departments kind of get together and give their wish list, the wish list very likely may be over 1.3 million. And I was hoping that he would play a role to come to some consensus of, hey, this is what the staff would recommend the best way to go. The board doesn't have to take that, of course. So did I set you up for that, Dave? Okay.
Well, and again, that's kind of where we're going with that. We're trying to get on the team bus together, Chief Miller, Chief Bush, all the staff at City Hall, and come up with a plan that's best suited for the entire city and not to leave out any department. And what we don't want to do is get to the board level and start arguing about the money and fighting and, like you say, a free for all. So I think as a team, we're going to get together. When we come to the Board of Men and Aldermen during the budget process, we will have the 1.3 decided on, and everybody, we're not going to be fighting over and that kind of stuff. So I think that's our plan right now.
Well, pretty much we can kind of lay out the plan at the 2 budget workshops and kind of nail it down at that point, and then make some minor adjustments if necessary, and have the
Correct.
priorities straight. Is that what the plan is?
Yes, ma'am. And there's so many things are so uncertain right now with the budget process, with our revenue projections and things like that, gas tax and stormwater thing, is that we request this money, and we need to look at our budget issues too at the same time. But yes, ma'am, that's what we're thinking about doing.
Okay, sounds like a plan to me. Anybody else have anything, committee?
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
when all is said and done, will all this have to come before our committee, and we'll have to discuss each one, like A and B and C, and would we have that authority, or would it have to come before the finance before it goes to BOMA?
Well, it sounds like
Robert?
it sounds like it's gonna be part of the budget. Am I mistaken about that? Robert?
No, ma'am, you're right.
No,
It's gonna be a
that's-
part of the budget. Everybody's agreed this is gonna be a part of the budget process. Robert's gonna be working on it. And we're gonna make it, like Mr. Alderman Edwards said, we're gonna make this a part of the budget process. It just makes sense to do it that way. And Mr. Waters, it'll come back before finance, but also before the full board.
Perfect. Anybody else? Okay, Mayor? All right. Let's go to the next item on the agenda. Under ordinances, we have ordinance 2020-07, ordinance amending budget ordinance 2019-22 by appropriating $11,541 due to unanticipated insurance payments and claims.
Jim
Do I hear a
Waters, aye.
motion?
Jim Waters, I move.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
May I?
Robert?
They're that likely, I don't know the best way to do it, and Andy, help me out if I'm doing anything wrong here. This may need to be, unless there's a simpler way, this may need to be pulled and taken to committee next week as just to save us time, because we need to increase that amount just due to a very recent, as in the past 2 to 3 weeks.
Robert, is this money that, maybe Andy, is this something that the insurance companies did not cover for this tornado or something like that?
No, they did cover. And I'm sorry, Andy, if I don't mean to speak for you there. The insurance companies have covered it. That takes away from Andy's budget if he's covering those costs himself. Like, they've reimbursed us for those expenses, but it's requiring Andy to budget to have to cover that for the time being, unless we decide to increase.
Robert,
And
Robert,
Andy,
let's defer this to next week. Let's defer this.
let me ask Andy a question, John, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Andy,
Yes, sir.
would you elaborate on that, please?
Well, these are things like lightning strikes and other acts of nature where we've had to incur expenses, and we've paid the $1,000 deductible, and then the insurance company reimburses us. In the past, sometimes we've taken money out of other line items like maintenance of parks and things like that to cover the insurance line item, which is, I don't, Robert can speak to that more than I can, but it makes total sense what he's trying to put in place here, is because these are totally unforeseen expenses. I think you could either defer it to the finance committee next week to add. We had a lightning strike 2 weeks ago that's going to add $3,000 or $4,000, or you could pass it and then amend it at the Bowman meeting. That'd be easy.
That's what I would rather do.
Okay, thank you, Andy.
And this is coming out of the general fund?
Yes, that's correct. It's unanticipated revenues. In addition to, it's unbudgeted for. We've collected revenue that we didn't budget for.
So are we not going to take any action on this tonight?
Chairman, I'd recommend we pass it and amend it at Bowman.
We could do that because we need to amend the amount anyway, right?
All right,
All right.
Jim Waters, I second it.
Thank you.
All right. All in favor of ordinance 2020? Any other discussion? Sorry. All in favor of ordinance 2020-7. Roll call. Jim?
Jim Waters, aye.
Daryl? And me? Aye. Okay, that passed unanimously. All right. The last item on the agenda is the revenue and cash flow analysis discussions. I have the graph that you sent us.
Sure, I'm happy to share that too. To make it easier on everybody, rather than having to look off your screen here. I will share now. Excuse me. So,
There you go.
you see here, this one's in color for Mr. Alderman Woodcock here, but I think it's hard to see once it is, obviously. As we've closed out March in the last week or so, obviously, as we see every single year, you know, general fund balance typically gets pretty low in November. And obviously, escrows tend to pay out their property taxes in December. And then a few do in February as well. We've seen that this green line here is our cash balance. As we see, it's always in the winter months, heavily outweighs our expenditures, with a little bit of exception of January, where we have some debt issuance that we have to pay off. So we do see our fund balance grow quite a bit, and then we kind of eat into that for the rest of the year. Starting in April is kind of where we'll start to see that. March, this year we've outspent March's collections by 1.3 million. I think last year was a little worse. We have collected, we've collected a lot more delinquencies this year than we did last year.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and most of that's from 18. So some of that has been, a little bit of that has been interest on past dues.
Do you think, Robert, I don't mean to interrupt you, but do you think it's a little bit better than last year because we've held off on non-essential spending at this point about 3 weeks ago?
A little bit. We sort of started we sort of started to put that in place in the last few days of March to kind of slow that. So we really started seeing the effect of it probably in the last about 5 business days of March. That definitely has an effect. But I think you'll start to see that in April. You'll see in April, you'll see my projections aren't quite, they'll be skewed a little bit for the rest of the year, but this is just based on if we needed to hit our mark of what we budgeted, this is what would be needed for the rest of the year. So I just wanted to mention that. We'll start to see scaled back expenses for April, but I think in May is when we'll see that scaled back revenue as well. The collections are really up in the air depending on who you talk to. Some worse than others. Some are a little more doomsday, and some are a little more optimistic. Tend to fall somewhere in the mid range of sort of expecting somewhere overall revenue decrease of, I would love to say a number different, but around 20%. Depending on which fund you're talking about, it can be worse. We've talked about State Street Aid, where people are just don't have as long of a commute when they're working from home. Gas prices have been down, as a result as well, and of some other extraneous factors. And that one may get hit just a little bit worse in the coming months, but it may rebound quickly.
Yeah.
Robert, what about a hotel? I guess this took a beating, hadn't it?
It has. We haven't collected. They were due today. I wouldn't be
Alexa,
guessing
turn on
at,
dry glass.
just because they're probably still in our mailbox. I've got to go pick
Wait
I'm
a
it up.
minute.
I'm estimating.
Wait a minute. We can't hear you too good, Robert.
I apologize. Typically, we do around 30,000 in beginning this month, and it hasn't quite reached that yet. It's looking. We've only collected about 12,000 so far. So
Really?
yeah,
We're lucky we collected that.
Yeah, we're lucky.
Oh.
We're lucky. Yeah.
that's right. I think part of that is, that's March's. So part of that is the first half of the month being able to collect that. But I'll have a full report on that for you next week,
Mhm.
and can fill you in. But it's certainly taken a hit. Hotel motel is just, we were lucky to be able to be up in that for a few months at the beginning of the year, but it's
Yeah.
definitely been one of the biggest hits.
What about any kind of projection for the sales tax? I know it's kind of early in the game for that.
It is. I sent you an email to kind of brief you on the state shared taxes a little bit.
Yes, I saw that. I have that here.
The good news there is we haven't seen, that's equivalent basically to last year. However, that's a statewide number, and is apportioned by population size
Huh?
and actual business and activity going on within the city limits. I really don't have an estimate for you today on local taxes, but I would imagine that we can estimate for March taking at least a 12 to 15% hit, though that may be a little doomsday from me, but I'm really worried to see that that's probably where it's going to hit.
Maybe we'll have a better idea next week.
I think so. Like what I always tell people, the grocery stores are going to offset a lot, but the tax on that is not as high as retail or if you're going to a movie or something.
Restaurant, yeah.
It's lower, and we receive quite a bit less out of it. So I hope to see it offset a lot more than that, but I'm not quite that optimistic yet.
Okay. Committee, do you have anything else?
Not on that, Madam Chairman.
Daryl, you're still mute.
Daryl's asleep.
Question that I wasn't
I've got a question for Andy when it's appropriate, Madam Chairman.
Andy Gilly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I have Andy Bolt's here too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, thank you. Andy, I'm reading all this material about the cell tower in the park. Can you help us out on this? Bring us up to date? Andy, are you there?
There's been a lot of material about that. Which material are you talking about, sir?
Technically, we can't talk about that.
Yeah, because this is a special called meeting. That's not on the agenda.
Okay.
We put it on the meeting, next week's meeting.
Okay, fine.
Let's put it on the next week's agenda.
Okay. Thank you.
Watch
Robert.
it, Jim.
Thank you, Daryl.
Okay. Anybody else?
Move to
Okay.
adjourn.
Move. Okay. Second, do we need a roll call to adjourn to? John?
Jim Waters.
Thanks, so.
Mute. Yes. Okay. Daryl? Move to adjourn. Jim, you want to adjourn?
Aye. Aye.
And I. Okay.
Good meeting.
Meeting adjourned. Thank
Good
you.
meeting.
Thank you. Huh?
Thank you, ma'am.
Appreciate it.